I'm going to just play the role of the frustrated clean energy and executive and climate change advocate for a few minutes. I think, first of all, I completely agree with Dr. Someshwar that to get to the conclusion, business is just not going to help attain energy, water, and food security on current trends. Now, sustainability in the DNA of companies has to be enforced. There's really nothing that I've seen where people, with the exception of outliers like Puma and Unilever, there's nothing that I've seen that's basically contrary to that. Now, why am I a frustrated clean energy executive and climate change advocate? Because I think over the last few years, while Shiv, I think, described it around 10 factors, I would summarize these from my experience on the front lines of this topic as basically a breakdown in governance. Because we know that we have a huge problem. We know the problem is existential. Yet if you look at what we're actually doing day to day, what we're actually doing day to day is just increasing the size of the problem. Top-down policies really have not worked. So we've had a 20-some-year UN process which hasn't really delivered any result in terms of what we need, which is a decrease in emissions below a certain level. And we've got national policies that fundamentally just aren't getting us there. And I just want to use India as an example because we're here. India has 27%, I think, of its land is already severely affected by climate change. It's suffering from sea level erosion. It's suffering from droughts, precipitation problems. Yet, India spends approximately $140 billion with the external costs per year on fossil fuel subsidies. And as some of you may have picked up from the press a few days ago, they actually increased the fossil fuel subsidies. Now, India is also, together with China, building approximately 800 coal-fired power plants with the help of, because their money is following, the banking sector, as well as the MDBs. So there is World Bank money in there, there is ADB money in there. Notwithstanding everything that you hear about the problem, they are building these coal-fired power plants, and coal locks up that infrastructure for 50 years, 50. And this is in a country that's already on the front line of suffering from climate change. So you can see how schizophrenic this topic is. So back to the breakdown in corporate governance. Governments are not delivering. I think we would be fooling ourselves if we think that they were. Businesses are certainly not delivering. Businesses are designed to run after the marginal dollar and play within a set of rules. They're not designed to go off and save the world just because they feel like it, and nobody in business is actually paid to do that. And as a matter of fact, most people would be fired if they did that. So that's business. Civil society is not delivering. The climate movement, so to speak, just has not been as effective as the HIV/AIDS movement, for example, in effecting fundamental change and getting results. Now that leaves us with, I think, two constituencies on which, in my view, the focus is going to be in the next 5 years and the change is going to come from in the next 5 years. The first one is the judicial system. And I'm going to come back to that in a minute. And the second one is the investors. Investors manage $70 trillion in assets. 22 trillion of these 70 trillion are already in investor groupings for social and responsible investing. And the key to me is how do we get these two to interact in a way that will actually force change down the down the chain. Because if the $70 trillion tells business to jump, business will jump. And basically after that, private capital will follow, and that will solve some 80% of the problem based, if you follow the dollars that go into climate finance. Some 80% is actually private sector money, not public sector money. So the public sector can enable, but it cannot finish the job. Now back to the judicial system for a minute. Over the next 5 years, I think you will see an increasing emergence of a recurring theme, which is that climate change is a human right. And what that means is that there is an increasing trend, certainly in the United States, sometimes elsewhere, in looking, there's a lot of people that are looking to find a way through which human rights law is applied to get a result on climate change. And the question there is, what obligations follow when our rights are effectively violated, and how do we increase compliance? And what we're talking about are 3 fundamental rights. The first one is the right to life. You know, when Bangladesh gets flooded, their right to life is being affected. The second one is the right to health. And the third one is the right to subsistence. So, you know, the effect on agriculture, a drought, and what have you, when we all know that it's induced by us. Because don't forget that 90 companies account for pretty much all of the greenhouse gas emissions. Only 90, all of which are oil, gas, coal, and cement companies. And I just want to leave you with these thoughts for our discussion. Thank you.
Thanks very much.